Hey, it's Mark with Mark's Virtual Real Estate Channel. I'm back with another video regarding Upland, but this is something a little different than Upland, and that is Kingdoms, which is tied to Upland and could be a ton of fun. In fact, it already is for me, and might actually make Upland way more usable, give properties more utility, and could really boost Upland in general. So Upland is a virtual real estate game where you can buy properties, trade properties. This is kind of what Upland looks like here. And Kingdoms uses properties in Upland to play Kingdoms, which is very interesting. So unfortunately, it's not in Queens yet where I have so many properties, or Detroit where I have so many properties. But I do have a lot of properties in certain cities so far that can help me out with that. So it's very easy to join and sign up. You just have to have an Upland account pretty much and sign up there. And basically what Kingdoms is you're starting a medieval society with peasants who you can train to be more skilled workers. You can build farms and mine properties, quarries, build blacksmith buildings, all kinds of interesting stuff. And basically the size of your society, or how many peasants you can have, is tied to how many properties you have in Upland in that particular city. And if you have buildings in Upland, you should be able to have a higher population in Kingdoms as well. So right now, the cities you can do are Arlington, Dallas, Las Vegas, Kansas City, and did I say Los Angeles already? Anyway, those are the ones. And so if I were to go to Dallas, which you can have a society in any of these cities, but you're given kind of one free starter pack of peasants to start your society. And so if you do that, you want to pick one city and go from there. But if I go to Dallas, I'm allowed to have 26 subjects total because I don't have that many properties there. You can see 898 up to however you want to say that. But then if I go back to Los Angeles, where my society is, I can have 144 subjects, and I've got 88 of them already. I've got 3,800 square feet of UPEX, however you want to call that. So where you pick your city is probably going to depend on where you have the most properties and most buildings. And like I said, there's just those 5 right now. And then the goal is really to start producing things. Basically, you're running a business and trying to produce goods, mine materials, minerals, and it's pretty cool in how it works. There's a market where you can sell properties at, or not properties, but goods at, and you can sell them for coins, which are kind of used in Kingdoms, or you can sell them for UPEX, which is directly put into your Upland account too. So I want to talk about some things to watch out for when you're playing Kingdoms, like some of the big mistakes I made if you're just starting out, and we'll try and do that real quick if you want to get started real fast and get going like I do without paying attention to all the instructions. So first off, the good thing to know is if you go over here on this tab, it's probably right behind my head. Hold on a second. There we go. Hopefully that fixed that. You can see they have a menu, which gives you information and different things. I had a video that kind of introduced Kingdoms before a little bit. But right here you have this guide. And this guide is very important to help you figure out what's going on, what's happening, the time, all of that. I won't go through all of that, but I will tell you what's kind of important in this guide. And that is, if I go back here, to the Quick Start. If you do the Quick Start guide, it'll tell you very quickly how to get started kind of on the right foot. And basically, you should start a farm, get your peasants working, produce some goods so you can feed them, and then start training some peasants and go from there. So I'll let you read that too if you want to. But basically starting a farm is the first step. And then, but this is also very useful here because it gives you information on all the lands or different type of lands. There's ice-capped mountains, which are great for mining, regular mountains, which are great for mining or having a quarry. You need stone to build certain buildings, and you can get those from quarries. Hills, the steppe, forest is nice because it has lots of trees that you can use to build properties as well, and have farms on those areas. Plains, scrubland, desert, bog. So again, I won't go through all of this too much, but then it goes through improvements, so it can tell you about what all these different things you can build do and are for. And there's an armory, a granary, stockpile. You don't really need the granary or the stockpile when you're first starting, so you already have storage. But if you start doing really well and you have more goods, then you'll want to build those so you have more storage. A cook pot, kitchen, all kinds of different things you can do here and build. So, and then what's really important, it talks about workers, how you can train them, what that you can train them into. There's combat. There will be fighting. I don't think it's active yet. It might be starting today. That's a little scary. We'll see how that goes. There's farming, and this is very important too. This is really one thing to really look at when you start your farm, and this tells you when you can plant things, when they grow, when they're harvested, and the pros and cons of each of these. And basically, it says to start with potatoes, which is probably a good thing. You can farm lots of potatoes, but it takes a while. And carrots would also be a good one to do because you can plant carrots twice a year. So it's important to see up here. It tells you the crops, and the sow, that's kind of when you plant it, when you plant things. So you want to make sure you have workers or farmers working on your farm by these dates if you're planting these crops. And then the harvest is here, the 6th of fall, and you want to make sure you've got workers there harvesting, because by this date, if you haven't harvested your goods, all your crop is gone and you lose it. So there's a lot of different stuff to learn as you go along, and farming is one of the most important things to learn when you first are starting. So we'll kind of show you just a little bit of farming real quick. So I have, well, before we do that, we'll show you exactly what all this stuff means. So first off, you can click on the map up here, and it shows you a general idea of where the different types of land are on kingdoms. And so it doesn't quite match real life, which is fine, but you can see where the mountains are, the bogs, and different things. So that's good to pay attention to if you want to buy new properties. If you want to buy new properties and you want to see where it is, you can do search for plots, and put in an address of any property that you want to see, and it will tell you what kind of property it is, if it's a bog, a mountain, whatever it is, and if there's any current production things on it as well. So obviously you can add value to land if you have a farm on it, peasants, different things. Because if you do sell one of your properties in Upland, and you've got a farm on it and peasants, those go with it to the new owner. So that's kind of like the first thing you want to make sure is if you're building a farm, you have peasants, you're doing this stuff, don't have that property for sale at market price in Upland, because someone will get a really good deal and they might snatch it away from you if they can find it. So make sure you take all your properties off for sale that you have buildings on in kingdoms, unless you're trying to sell them for like a big markup and that's your plan. So that's something to pay attention to. The market shows you what you can buy and sell things for. You probably don't need to do that right away, but if you run out of food, have some issues, you can go there and buy that. These are your coins right here. So this is kind of bronze pieces, silver, gold. You'll start out with very little money, but every season you will get taxes from your people, and they will add up here. And you can also go to the market and sell excess goods you have. So if you're producing 500 potatoes and you only need 10 of them, you can sell those potatoes on the market. So that can give you more money to then go buy other stuff if you need it, which is nice as well. The store is for buying a peasant package. If you want to, buy more peasants or start in a different city, you can do that as well, paying Upix. All right, so what's important here is you have these tabs, workers. So this tells you how many laborers you have, military, tradesmen, and then if you click on them, they will tell you how many you have of each farmer, hunter, miner, etc., and if they're working or not. So if they're employed, that means they're currently building something, they're harvesting something, they're producing something. If they're unemployed, it just means they're not doing anything. So I try to always keep my people working as much as possible, and you can see they all are right now. So that's a good way to tell, if your people are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Now, something else, well, we'll talk about that here in a second. So you can click on the resources too, and this shows you what you have of all your stuff. So like I said, you start with a granary, you start with a stockpile. The granary holds food and perishables, drinks, things like that, and you can see I have ale, beets, carrots, game meat, hops, all of these different things I've produced. And I have lots of stews, so maybe I can say, hey, I can sell some of these stews on the market, make some money, or I can sell them for Upix if I want more Upix in Upland, because I've got so many of them. But you also have to be careful because your people can go through these. So what happens is every season, these will be deducted based on how many people you have, your population, and what you have marked as them being to eat or drink. So it doesn't happen every day, it happens every season. So there's 25 or 30 days in each season, I think. I'll have to go back and look at that. And each season these will be deducted. So as you produce things, your farm harvests, whatever, this number will go up, and then every season it will drop down, or if you sell stuff, it will drop down. Now, the stockpile is more like building supplies, minerals. So you can see we have coal, firewood, gold. I had found some gold, that was kind of cool. Iron ingots, iron ore. And part of this too is you might need some of this stuff to build buildings, and you have to convert iron ore into iron ingots. I don't even know how you say that, but or you convert logs to planks, logs to firewood. You have stone. There's all kinds of different things that go into it that you can learn as you go. But really, starting the farm is the first step, and then you can possibly start producing some other things later on. But we're talking about the really important things to think about here before we get too crazy. So upkeep, this is one that's a little tricky and has caught a lot of people. So upkeep is basically what you're allowing your people to eat. So I can click on this and say, no, you can't eat any beets. And I can click on this and say, no, you can't have any bread. No, you can't have any smoked meat. I want to save this or I want to sell it. Okay, so what happens is you see this green little box here and a green dot here. So if I click on too many of these, all of a sudden they're not having any food. They're going to be very unhappy, and people might start leaving. So it says I have 88 subjects here. People will leave if they don't have enough food, if they're not happy. So now if I click back on this, and I don't know the difference between secondary and primary, why I always just make them primary. I don't want my grapes actually, because I want to save those for making wine. But I make these all available to eat again. Now it's green. Green is good. If you're green or purple, that means people might come to your little town without you having to do anything. So all of the subjects I've gotten, I haven't bought any of them, have come to my town because I'm usually at purple here, which is really good. And so I'm actually below purple for the first time in a while because I'm kind of low on some of these items. And my farming should come in here soon for harvesting and help boost that up again. And we'll try to get to purple. But if you're in the red, that's bad. People might leave. You don't want people to leave. You want people to come. So very important you pay attention to your upkeep. All right. And you just click on that and that disappears. This shows all the lands that you own. And this is just based on Upland, what properties you own in Upland in that city. And so you can see what kind of lands they are. The picture tells you what kind of land it is, if it's a mountain or a prairie or forest. And then this shows you what improvements you have on that land. And then we can go to here, the improvements tab, and it shows you what type of each improvement you have is. So if you have farms, it shows you all your farms, and you can see what they're doing, if they're tending wheat. Like I said, I'm going to go through this real quick, so sorry. And then you can see production. Production is a building, like we have a boyer who produces bows or spears, a brewery who produces ale. Like I said, it takes a while to get to this, so don't freak out if you don't have all these things. A chopping block is one of the first things you might want to build because they can make planks or firewood, and very easy to build. So a chopping block is one of the first things to do. The Quickstart guide lets you know that too. A cook pot is also one of the first things you want to build or buy, because then you can smoke your meat if you're, looking for game, cook stews or whatever. Much more efficient than just giving your people raw vegetables. A jeweler's guild is much more advanced. A kitchen is more advanced. Sawmill, but you can do those later on too. So those show you all your improvements, and it shows you who's working there too, so you can see if nothing's happening or what's going on. Now, resource extraction are mines or quarries, and we'll show you what you have as far as goods in those mines or quarries. So that's important. Obviously, if you need stone or iron to, build things. And you can also sell stone or iron too if you don't want to build things, you just want to make more money. Storage, like I said, if you need extra storage, you can build those. And then training, this is where if you have a tattered book, which is one of the first things you should probably build as well, you can train a peasant to become a cook or to become a farmer. And peasants can be cooks, peasants can be farmers, but they're much more efficient as farmers. So you pretty much want a farmer to work your farm because they will have more, they'll work faster and they'll produce more goods, which gives you more resources. And then eventually you could build a trade school, which does even more and allows you to train even more people and different types of people too. So that's a basic rundown of all of that. So some mistakes to avoid when you're, let's see here, building something. So we'll go to one of my lands and we'll just pick a random forest right here. And so first off, if you click on the land, it tells you what goods you have on that land. So most land should have something on it before you build anything, do anything. This one has berry bushes, game, trees. And if you want to start a farm or harvest, you can say new job right here. You can construct something, or you can harvest what's already there. So when you're first starting out, you can harvest berry bushes, and those will give you food. And later on, you can make different things with berries. And so I don't have any peasants available. I would have to show you. Hold on. We'll do this the right way. We'll take a peasant off of one of my other jobs. That's more advanced stuff too. You can add more peasants or miners or workers on different jobs to make it go faster or slower. So like I said, there's a lot going on. Don't feel like you have to know all of it all at once. Just like anything, you'll learn as you go. But I just want to go over some real basics right now. So if I do a new job and I want to harvest, say berry bushes, I can say, this is important because I didn't realize this. Right here tells you how many berry bushes you want to harvest. So when I was harvesting some stone and different stuff, I'd always leave it at 1. And I thought, oh my God, I have to come back here every half hour and keep saying harvest, harvest. You don't. You can click, you want to harvest all those berry bushes. And you want, oh, I have lots of peasants available. 2 peasants to do it, right? And it will tell you that will take 2 days. Basically, half hour in real time is 1 day in Kingdoms. So if I come back and it's on the hour, half hour, it's 9:09 a.m. right now. If I come back at 9:30, half this job will be done. If I come back at 10:30, this whole job will be done. They will have harvested all of those berries. So you can also do the same thing by clicking on game, harvesting game. You can train a hunter who's better at doing game, or you can fell trees. You can have a woodworker who's better at that too. So lots of different things you can do for this, for harvesting. Now, as far as constructing, here's where you can build different buildings. So armory, barracks, blacksmith, boyer. Like I said, a lot of these you don't have to worry about right now. The most important thing is to start a farm, but eventually you want to do a chopping block, a cook pot, and those are the most important two to get started. Maybe a tattered book to train some people. But here's some tips when you're first starting out so you don't make mistakes I made. All right, first off, you have some peasants. You want to assign them to build it. Take 10 days to build this farm. However, if you see up here, right here, this tells you how big you can make the farm depending on the size of the property. So, I was smart in the first farm I made, and I made it as big as I could, which you probably want to do. The second farm I made, I forgot about that and kept it a minimum size 20, which means it won't produce as many goods. I can't have as many people working there. It's just not as efficient. So honestly, with farms, this isn't super important because I was able to build a second farm on that same property and make it as big as I wanted. So farming isn't horrible if you forget to do this and make it small. In fact, it might be a good thing because then you can have 2 small farms on the same property and produce different goods, and maybe that variety helps you out. But I don't know if it will let me build a mine here or a quarry. I probably need a different type of property. With mines or quarries, you need to be careful. So, but let's see here. Let's go to an armory. Not that you want to build this right away, but when you start building more advanced things besides farms, it will tell you what you need of each item. So if I'm building an armory, I need 1 iron, half a log, 1 plank, 4 stone. Like, that's not very much, right? That's because you're only building 1 Upex. So if you're building an armory, you probably want to make it as big as you can, and the bigger you make it, the more of these goods you'll need. And it's red because I don't have enough of these to build that right now. I'm kind of low on resources right now because I've been doing a lot of stuff. So you probably want to make these as big as you possibly can to do the most stuff you can depending on the situation. And so it's more important with some of these buildings because you can't go back and just build another one on some of these lands. And I'll show you let's see here. We'll cancel this one. We'll go to, let's see. Here's a mountain. So mountains, you can construct different things on. So a mountain, you can build a mine on and extract resources. This says you need 50 logs, and every mine is size 25. So you don't have to worry about mines too much, but you can only have one mine per property. So they'll tell you how long it will take you to build it, 42 days up there, depending on how many peasants you have, etc. Now, if we go to a quarry, this is a mistake that I had made too. This limits your size. So again, this limits your size here, and I believe you can have just one quarry on each property, if I remember right. If not, then ignore everything I'm saying. But you probably want to make it as big as you can make it to extract as many goods as you can. One interesting thing too is if you have a mine on a property, you can also have a quarry on it too. You can have both, and that can help you use the property to its full extent. And once you use up your stone, you harvest all those materials, you can't really harvest anymore from the mine or the quarry. But Upland or Kingdoms has said in the future you might be able to dig deeper and do more. You just can't do that yet. So right now you kind of have to keep opening new mines, new quarries to keep getting more goods. So in general, farming is much more sustainable because you can keep farming the same land over and over again. When you're logging or taking resources out of the ground, eventually you run out, just like kind of real life. So those are some tips there. Now, one huge mistake I made, and something I hope you can avoid if you haven't done it yet. If I were to start a quarry right now, or even, a blacksmith or something like that, and I use my logs and my planks and all these materials to build it, if I decide I want to stop building it and it's not the right place or do something else, and I say cancel the build, you lose all of those materials. You don't get back a certain percentage. You don't lose just what you've used so far. You lose all of it. So I did that once. I'm like, oh my God, I just lost like 200 stone. So be careful of that. And something else I did too is I wanted to stop building one of my buildings at one point, just halt it and focus my resources somewhere else. I took all my people off of it, and it was gone. It was like it took my build away, the progress and everything. So I don't know if that was, if I hit the wrong button or if that's what really happens. But if you do have a build going, try to keep at least one person working there so that it keeps going and it doesn't just disappear, which is what happened to mine. So there are some tips there as well for building. Like I said, I try to keep all of my people working as much as possible. And you can kind of see here, we looked at improvements before. You can see where people are working. You can also look at jobs. And these are when people are building, harvesting, doing those goods, and you can see how many people are working there, how long it will take them to finish, and this gives you an idea of where you can put more people if you have people available, or you can also go to your improvements, and if you've got resource extraction, have more people mining coal or whatever you want to do if you have people available. So that is kind of the quick and easy startup guide for Kingdoms. It's a lot of fun. It's cool seeing your resources going up and figuring out all of that. And remember, you can, if you run out of goods, if you don't have enough upkeep, you can go to the market and you can search for, potatoes or beets or whatever it is to buy. And things are priced differently, and it's all based on the market and what people are selling them for. So you can look for the cheapest things per unit to buy, try and make your money go farther. And what I've tried to do is kind of, I'll buy bread because it's real cheap to buy, but then I'll produce a whole lot of potatoes or something because they're real expensive to buy. And so I try and buy cheaper stuff and sell more expensive stuff to help me increase my coins and gold and all of that. So I'm sure there'll be lots more questions. We've been answering them on our Discord too. So if you click in the description below, we've got our Discord channel. Lots of cool people on there, and a tab just for Upland Kingdoms to help answer questions there. Everyone's welcome to go there, and we'll have more videos on Kingdoms too as we go along, and we'll see how all this works out. But so far it's pretty cool. It'd be awesome if Upland could do something like this, building wise, but we'll see. All right, thanks for watching. Love the support. If you haven't subscribed yet, that'd be awesome if you do, and be back soon with lots more videos. And we are having a contest now for the Upland Lazy Node build in Upland. If you want to join that, to help you build more properties if you're part of the Lacy Notes. All right, take care.